I'm Jason Pinkston, and this is your Backstage Pass. Today on Backstage Pass, we find ourselves in Tennessee. Just off Broadway, well within view of the scenic Nashville skyline, we caught up with former singer-songwriter turned serious songwriter extraordinaire, Lance Miller.
That's when you know it's going to be a bad day at work.
Did they tell you
when
that?
your code doesn't work.
My friend Kim Williams told me years ago, he said, as soon as you give that singing thing up and just stay in town and write songs, he said, you're better at it than you think you are. You ought to just, so he always do. He said the songwriter had the best life in town, and I think it's true. I mean, my artist buddies, they seem to have a good life too, but they are busy, and it takes a lot of work to keep the organizations, particularly when you're thinking about McGraw that he takes care of.
Yeah.
So.
And you speak of a crop, maybe a small crop of artists that you guys are trying to be fruitful for. Do you have a number of people in mind when you write a song, or are you really targeted in your writing right now?
I've been real fortunate here this past 9 months to be really, I dove in on a particular project, Jared Neiman, and me and the Warren Brothers and a guy named Derek George have his single out there right now called Drink to That All Night. Mm-hmm. And I've got, I say it with much humbleness because I'm embarrassed to say, but I've got 8 songs on the record, on Jared's record. And
nice. Wow.
So that's been, it's taken a lot, it's been we've had a great time, but I've spent a lot of time with Jared this last 9 months, so he just finished the record up a few weeks ago.
Can you do a little bit of that Jared Neiman song too?
Oh gosh, I think I can do a little bit of it.
Even if it's
I'll just yeah. Ready?
ready.
Okay. The first part's real low. Pulling up now and the parking lot's full, gonna ride that cow at the Dallas Bull. Everybody in the ATL is coming, DJ's got those speakers thumping. Drive a black Ford, not a white Mercedes. Walking through the front door, checking out the ladies. My buddy says, hey boys, I'm buying. Hottest girl in here's giving me the eye. And everybody knows, yeah, it's gonna be one of those. I can drink to that all night. That's the stuff I like. That's the kind of party make you throw your hands up high. About to tie one on, talking gone, 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 turning all the wrongs into right. I can drink to that all night, yeah.
Awesome. It's a lot of words
I'm out of
to get
breath.
there.
My little redneck.
I sound like I have
from Southern
emphysema
Illinois.
singing this song. That's it.
Lance, let's go back. You started really early, playing the animal clubs, the Elks, the Eagles.
Yeah.
The animal clubs, that what you guys
that's
call
what
them?
we called it back
Okay,
Yeah.
you're making the rounds.
Yeah.
How old were you when you hit those stages? Very young.
Well, I guess the first little band that I was in, I was probably 17 or something like that when I first started going out with Dad and trying to get up and play. I was probably 14 or something like that. I'm glad you brought that up because to blow smoke up your skirt, as they say in Southern Illinois, you were the one, you were making a living at it up there in Southern Illinois.
We did. There were
So you were very inspiring to me. I mean, you really were. You got and Cimarron and some of those groups up there. I always wanted my guys to have that, but they had good jobs and I didn't.
We couldn't find jobs.
But I wanted,
Lance.
yeah,
We
is that
had
what
to
it
go
was?
sing. Nashville Star.
It was a big
What
deal.
year was that?
That was 2003 when that came down the pike, and I was out at the CMAs. Kim Williams was the year that I dropped Kim's name a lot because he had a lot to do with me getting to make a living in this business. But he wrote 3 Wooden Crosses, and we were out at the CMAs, and I was Kim had seats up by the stage, and him and Doug Johnson, the writers of the song, obviously they were up because they won Song of the Year that year. So I got to go, but I was in the cheap seats. So I'm in the back, and Buddy Cannon was sitting in front of me, and Tracy Gershon walked in front of him, and just to make conversation, I tapped Buddy on the shoulder, and I said, hey, was that Tracy Gershon? And he said, yeah. Why? You want to be on Nashville Star? Buddy did. Just joking around. Yeah.
That's how you.
So that's how the conversation got going, and I said, well, I don't know, maybe. I wasn't thinking that way at the time, and so I thought about what Buddy had said, and I knew Buddy's a funny guy, and he's always giving me a hard time. But I knew that he meant something. There was some truth in there that he was really seeing if I was interested in that. So I called him and I said, hey, I know you was kind of kidding around the other night, but I said I might want to do that show. And I said, what did you mean by that? So he put in a call to Tracy, and I got to do an audition for her and the producers of the show, and I still had to do a videotape and all that kind of stuff. But it did kind of, Buddy did get me around.
Sure.
You know, reality TV is not always totally reality.
It's not
But I
as it
mean,
appears.
I didn't get no cakewalk in there, by the way, either.
Right.
I still had to go through the whole process everybody else did in terms of performing at the Wild Horse and that whole nerve-wracking experience and 150 people.
And
I
like
mean,
2 seconds of a song.
yeah, 2 seconds of song. 5, 4, 3,
you're
2.
done.
You know. So yeah, that was a great experience and got a lot of, you know, for my little career, I got a lot of pop out of that show.
Kind of met the Warren brothers there.
Met the Warren brothers here. They called me Chastity Bono. They said I looked like Chastity Bono in front of 2 million people, or how many people were watching that night. What happened? There was a
And
producer.
you still like them.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I love them, but they were just there to be funny. They didn't care about the artists on there. They
were the comic relief.
They wanted to be funny.
Right.
And so there was a producer on that show. There was the picture that they took for the show, and I kind of see the resemblance. I hate to say it.
Stop
But when
it.
when they took the picture, the angle that they took it, and it's kind of the way I was setting. It was kind of like it looked like Chaz a little bit. So
Chastity or Chaz?
Well,
Yeah,
it
I
was
think it's Chaz.
it was
It's
Chastity
post,
at
yeah.
the time.
Chastity, the
I
I can't believe I'm making this a big a deal out of this. This is not smart.
So
But
how did
I-
the interview
why,
go?
See why
What
my
we talking
career
about?
didn't get any further than it is.
That's why you're in a basement. writing
Exactly. That's why I'm in a
songs.
basement writing song. No cell service. Nobody can even get a hold of me down here.
Real quick.
Yeah,
When
but
they
anyway.
had Songwriters Night on Nashville Star, what
Yes.
was the one you come up with?
I did beer for breakfast, if memory serves.
Give us a touch.
Oh my God.
Give us a touch.
I mean, this is on the spot.
This
I
is
haven't
on
done
the
this.
spot.
And the red light's on.
We know the red lights.
Let's see. She always started her day with morning coffee. Oh, and I started mine with Miller Lite. It's a good thing we're drunk. We're having fun now. Right? I never would ask her to change her habits, but she had no sense of humor about mine. Now beer's not just for breakfast anymore. It's 3 meals a day since she walked out the door Saturday. It's morning, noon, and night since she left me high and dry. No, beer's not just for breakfast anymore. I was so motivated to get a record deal. I mean, I really wanted to get a record. That was always a motivation of mine, and I always wanted to be on a major label.
Sure.
I didn't care which one it was. I mean, I just had that. I guess it's just if I would been a real good baseball, I'd want to play for the Cardinals. I mean, it's just something I wanted to be on a major label, and I set that into gear at a very young age, thinking about it, and but I didn't know it was going to take that long,
Yeah.
and I didn't, I had no idea. But I think I personally needed something big like that to set my sights on, or I might have not stayed quite as long. Honestly, I think, because I just kept plowing for it, and that TV show is what did it. And I met Tracy Gershon on the show, and the Warren brothers, who introduced me to Byron Gallimore, who's been Tim McGraw's longtime producer, and Missy Gallimore had saw me on the show and said I thought Byron might like to work with me, and we talked about working together at one point. And I later met Tim, and he took me on a couple tours after that.
It's not bad, is it?
No, McGraw we were in his dressing room one night out on the road, and I was still writing for Sony at the time, and he said, "What's going on with your publishing?" And I said, well, I think Sony's probably going to let me go when my option comes back around because my record didn't come out. And he said, well, if they drop you, I'll sign you. So they did drop me, and then he picked me up, and I've been there for about 6 years.
Talking about just writing about stuff people can relate to,
Yeah.
but you go a little bit deeper. I mean, you're looking at some spiritual elements. You're doing all sorts of things. Where do you draw from?
Well, different places. The spiritual thing you're talking about, of course, I had that George Jones and Jesus. That was with a good buddy of mine, Austin Cunningham, and then more recently, the Beer with Jesus with Thomas Rhett, and me and Rick Huckabee wrote that with Thomas Rhett, and those are tricky little songs to write because and you don't want people to miss the
Sure.
Right.
message of what you're saying
That
there.
song did pretty good.
It did pretty good. It got to 15. That was my highest charting thing I'd ever had up until now. And as we speak, we're at 14 on Drink to That all night. So I feel more blessed now than I ever have. I've just had my nose down so hard for so many years trying to survive in this town and to kind of get let through the door as a songwriter and be embraced by your peers. I think people probably know how good that makes me feel, but if they don't, it does. That's it.
I think Tim is a big prankster. What did he ever do to you?
Well, I mean, I had a birthday on the road one time, and I mean, it wasn't that big a deal, but him and Faith jumped out with silly string and got me this, this stuff like that.
That's a good story for your buddies sometime at the bar. I remember that time Faith Hill got me with that silly string.
Yeah, stuff like that. But nothing too major. Tim could get a little ornery back in those days, but nothing comes to mind. He used to like to punch. He likes to box. He likes to box back then. I'm glad he don't like to do that anymore.
You could find your softer side and write for one of the female artists, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We write with some female. Sunny Sweeney's a girl that the Warren Brothers and I write with. We love her. She's more, she's kind of not right up the middle of the country where it is right now, but we love what she does. And so we write with girls.
Your favorite song you've written so far or co-wrote?
Well,
if you had to pick it.
I don't know. I mean, for different reasons. I mean, the one that's out there right now, I like the best, the Drink to That all night, because it's just doing great. And Jared's got a lot of good momentum behind him on that song. But just to sit down and sing one, it's probably going to be Beer with Jesus. If I could have a beer with Jesus, heaven knows I'd sip it nice and slow. I try to pick a place that ain't too crowded, but gladly go wherever he wants to go. And you can bet I'd order up a couple tall ones, and I'd tell the waitress just put 'em on my tab. I'd be sure to let him do the talking, but careful when I got the chance to ask. Tell me, how'd you turn the other cheek to save a sorry soul like me? Do you hear the prayers I send? What happens when life ends? Oh, and when you think you're coming back again? Yeah, I tell everyone, but no one would believe it. Oh, if I could have a beer with Jesus.
Waylon or Willie?
Oh, gosh. Well, that's Willie.
Willie?
Yeah.
Really, Willie?
Yeah, because
Willie?
and it's just a comfort zone thing a little bit, because if I were asked to sing, I can sing Willie better.
Okay.
Really is what in my head I do anyway. I don't know
What
what
we
the public thinks.
You like white meat, dark meat?
I'm a dark meat guy.
Dark?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, at Thanksgiving.
We
Everybody,
always get
we
together
would
because
get
I have all the
along.
dark meat.
my family always has turkey leg at Thanksgiving, and so I've always been the dark meat guy.
You want a vacation in a warm, cold destination? Snow ski or island?
Warm. I like island.
Can you sing us the beach?
Oh.
I'll do a little bit of that beach. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Sure. This song here, this is the song that Tim McGraw decided he wanted to take me on tour when he heard this song, when he heard my record.
How about that?
So this is the song that got me on the first tour with him, the Soul to Soul thing. We don't have an ocean where I come from.
Crab Orchard.
No city pool, that's right, just an old muddy creek. And I never knew so many cowboys like the Caribbean, and singing about places the working man's never seen. The only hurricane round here's in a Dixie cup. The only oil that ever touched my skin was dripping from my truck. People find their oasis in all different places, but the coast is just out of my reach. Anyway, Waylon never sang about the beach.
Yeah.
George Jones and Jesus are heroes of mine. One is only human, yeah, but the other one divine. When I could not find a friend, I found out that I had to. George Jones